Some of you might be new here, others of you may be familiar with this space. But for those who are new, just wanted to give a quick recap and overview of what the purpose of these meetings, why we have these meetings. The purpose of these convenings is to provide a space for individuals to share their expertise and to bring Power BI users together to engage in collaborative learning. And so that's really why this started. That's really why these quarterly convenings started. And with that, I would like to also introduce our Power BI user group facilitators who are hosting this session. And that is Katie Wilson, Stephen Butler, Daniel Martinez, and myself, Jaime Rodriguez. And it is a pleasure to be able to serve you all this morning. And so with that, I think some of you have already seen what we have lined up for today. So there is a feature presentation by our very own Daniel Martinez, who will be going over, sharing his insights into how to calculate and his thoughts on calculating enrollments for cross-listed sections in Power BI, and he will be elaborating more on that. After that, we'll be shifting gears to a time of office hours, and Stephen Butler will be leading that time. And again, as you saw in the email, that'll be a time where we really open it up to everyone. If anyone has any questions, wants to get a second opinion on anything that is related to Power BI, we welcome you to unmute yourself and please bring the question before the group. And collaboratively, we will go ahead and interact and share our thoughts and insights to that question and provide our feedback. So it should be a very productive, helpful session for all of us, collaborative learning in full effect. And so looking forward to our time together today. So without further ado, I will actually pass the Zoom mic over to our very own Daniel Martinez, and we'll go from there.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for being here. I think this is going to be an entire presentation of office hours because, well, I'll tell you why, and I'll start sharing my screen. Well, maybe we should just start off with this question. Has anybody been able to, using Power BI or another method, been able to calculate fill rates and capacities for cross-listed courses correctly? If so, please speak up. Don't be shy. Please don't be shy. Okay.
Not me. I haven't done that yet. So yeah.
And for what it's worth, when I was at the, I don't know how many of you have gone at the last enrollment management. It's that summer thing they do in San Diego. What's it called? Enrollment Management Academy. I don't know. Have some of you attended that? So you can check mark, raise your hand, thumbs up, something. Really?
I've attended it.
Well, why don't you say so, man? That's what I just said.
I raised my hand.
Oh, I didn't see that. Okay. If other people, I don't. Most of you are off screen, so I don't know if you. So does that mean that you did not attend? I'm presuming.
Sorry, I just joined. What did we attend it?
The Enrollment Management Academy in La Jolla.
Okay, no.
No. All right.
I've attended it before, but not this year.
Okay, so you have attended it before. Okay. So it's this was the second time that I went, and at this last meeting, they had breakouts by position, and so the researchers got together, and at the research breakout, this topic came up, and it was pretty much agreed that nobody has been able to figure out how to do this. I was working on something because I've been working on this for a long time, actually, sadly, and I thought that maybe I had figured something out, but as I dug into it, it turns out that I did not. So I put the question out to this listserv, and I also put the question out to the Microsoft Fabric community because they usually have some very insightful ideas and ways to fix it. I've implemented so I got 3 different suggestions, and of the 3 suggestions, the results are the same as what I had. So they haven't been fixed yet. So what I was going to show you was the solution that somebody else had shared with me, but that's not the case because they're still not correct. So I'll show you what I have, and then we could group think. There could be some suggestions, or we could start talking about some other issues that you may have to talk about Power BI. So let's get started then with that. I've got several open, so I'm trying to see which one is the right one to share. Well, let me share my screen. So the way that I have worked on this before is that I have a so at our college, the CIO prefers to call courses stacked courses or not stacked courses. He's a CIO, so I name it the way that he likes. But for the rest of us, we call them cross-listed courses. So that's why it's called stacked. So what I've done before is to provide a fill rate for stacked, and for non-stacked courses, that's drillable down to the section level, so people can see, what's happening. And so what I'm trying to do is to figure out how to correctly count the stacked courses fill rates. So as a little bit of a reminder, or if you haven't dealt with this, so I have here the number of sections, and then I have up the number of primary sections. But let me forgive me if I'm being redundant, but just to make sure that we're all on the same page with it. So stack course is a course where there's a primary course, and then there's a secondary course, or parent course and a child course, or something like that, where it's one instructor and several sections are meeting at the same time, the same place with that same instructor. So an example is piano 1, 2, 3, and 4. So piano 1 is maybe the parent course, but then piano 2, piano 3, piano 4 are all meeting in the same place with that same instructor. So we don't, for all those courses, each of those sections has a fill rate, but we don't want to count the fill rate for all those sections because it's really just one section. It's not 4 sections, right? So that's where the dilemmas happen. So here's an example. Here's the example that I've been using. This has been my test section. It's this course, Manufacturing 158. This section 64866, and it has 5 sections that are attached to it, including an engineering course and including one of our non-credit courses, which is interesting. But I'm not wagging the dog here on this. This is how they built it. This is what they want. So I'm just trying to reflect what they're doing. In the primary section, just one section, in the primary section, there are 7 people enrolled in Manufacturing 158, section 64866. There's 7 people in that course. Then in the stacked courses, or the cross-listed courses, there's 3 people enrolled in the engineering course. There's 3 people enrolled in this manufacturing different section, 64872. And there's 1 person enrolled in the non-credit vocational manufacturing course. Okay, so there's a total of another 7 students enrolled in these cross-listed sections, right? I hope that makes sense. So this is correct because this is the primary section. There are 7 people in that course. Of all the staff courses, there are 7 students enrolled. That total comes up to 14, which is great. And then at each section level, now it would be great if this wasn't counted again, but that's one thing at a time. But so for this section, we got the primary section plus the cross-listed course for a total of 10, for 7, and so on and so on. So we see this. So that's good. The issue is here in this section. So for the one cross-listed course, there are 22, in theory, it has a capacity of 22. But it's adding up the capacities for all of the cross-listed sections for a total of 110. And so that's not correct. And so then the fill rate is says 13%, because it's 14 divided by 110, 13%. Obviously not correct. And so that's what I'm trying to figure out, is how to correctly do this. Now this capacity, so any questions, comments to start with? And I don't see you all, so just, I see a hand. Emil, yes. You're on mute.
Thank you for reminding me of that. I forgot about it. So yeah, like I know what you're talking about, I think. So like the issue is in granularity of the data. I mean, I know we're looking at the PBI report. Do you mind showing what the kind of a table in the background looks like? Just go to
Sure.
like Power Query.
Yes, no problem. So the data that I'm pulling in is this table. Wow, love stuff.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay.
There's a
So now can you show me the columns that show the enrollment, the capacity, and like whether or not that primary section is being kind of tagged at sub. I mean, is there a column that shows this is the primary section?
I see there's a comment in the comment. So something about global capacity from colleague. We also use colleague, and I'll get there. I'm looking at a comment from Joseph Casio. I hope I'm saying that correctly. And Emil, you noted that they call them combined courses.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Do you mind showing again like the column for the enrollment and column
Right.
for?
I will. I'm just looking at the comments. So
I see. Okay.
And so long as it's first cross the section, usually share a code. There is a code. So I'm starting here because I'm going to show you the source of where this is coming
The
from.
problem with the approach of using the max instead of sum, when you roll it up to department or discipline or college level, it still will be calculating that max. So you'll be looking at the max of the kind of a capacity across the college, not across the course that you would like to have. And yes, the duplication, I think also is definitely a good way. So you would have two basically data sets, one kind of like on the sort of primary course level, but there's also a way to do it programmatically. I mean, I do something like that for our, and that's the reason why I'm asking the question if you can show me the enrollment and capacity and stuff, because I do it sort of programmatically, but it's not a perfect solution either at this point, because like Steven
So let me
says,
finish the question. Let me show you what you asked in the first place, and then we can maybe get into some of those details. So this is now to be transparent. This table is it's pulled from colleague, but it is not a raw data. I mean, it's kind of raw data, but it's kind of not. There are some things that happen in the background which we're not even sure of how that happens. And so they note whether the course is the primary course or not. And then there's a field here for cross-listed sections. And if the course is not a primary section, if it's cross-listed, it'll have a list of courses here. I trust that you can see this. Okay. And so what I did then, so I was trying to use primary as a flag to try to separate it out and that kind of thing. So what I ended up doing was to to pull the table in again, and then I don't even remember the name of what it's called. What's the word? Sorry, I can't remember the word. So the table comes in, and I filter it, and then I deduplicate that field. So that field is
Right. You split it into rows.
right. So instead of one that's where it's all in one field, I separate them out. Make sure that I have it. So that's the source of this particular table. I call it cross list or X list. Okay.
Can you show me the formula for calculating the I mean, I know it's kind of like on the fly trying out, but can you show me the formula for calculating the capacity? The measure that you calculate the capacity.
So let me finish looking at the tape, and then I can, because there was this comment about using the global capacity, and so the table comes in with some of the raw data here, right? But there's a lot of calculations that happen. The section number, section course name, that's the primary one, right? And the cross-listed course name, the cross-listed section number. So these come in with the unduplicated, the table that I pull apart, and then I do different things to it. Okay. So then I pull the enrollment from that other table. It's coming from cross-list T. So that's cross-list primary. So if the course is the primary course, I pull it in, I pull in the enrollment that's on the other one, and the capacity. All right, so I'm back here, enrollment 2. Okay, why is it not liking this? But it's there. So for the secondary courses, I pull in the enrollment. I also have I created a new table for across the secondary, where I pull in the enrollment and the capacity for those sections. Then total enrollment, capacity 1, capacity 2. The global capacity is getting pulled from the original table. What I found is that some of at least in this table, this one that's created, so again, it's not directly at a colleague. And what I found is that some of the global capacities are blank, as you can see. So I then create this other one where give me the global capacity, and if it's blank, then add these two up. Because I don't know how else to do it for blank. So this is why in this case we have 40 because it's giving me a global capacity, but in this case we get 60 because it's not giving me a global capacity. Does that make sense so far? Any questions so far? And then what I did is to see, is there a difference between these two columns? And if there is, that kind of thing. Okay. So your question is about what's the formula for are there any questions, other questions, anybody else? Anything? Any hand raised? I don't see anything. I see a couple comments in the chat. Let's take a look, and then we'll get back to that. Okay. That's Joseph's comment. So Joseph, your comment, can you see these comments? Because I'm sharing my whole screen, so I'm assuming you can, yeah?
No, on the screen we can't see them.
You can't
only
see the screen, but
the end user. Yeah, but we can see them on the side.
Okay. So Joseph just said, so for class, instead of 110, you switch it to max. I tried that, but I was getting max for the whole table and not by each primary section is, which is what I want. But I did try that. Stephen. I could probably try that. So Stephen says, could you duplicate the data set in Power Query every one of the primary sections just for capacity and turn it back to the main table for the primary section? Try it.
I'm thinking about that, but I'm thinking about it. You might have the same issue, so I don't know if that'd work. Maybe.
And then Svetlana is suggesting so there's usually a share code. If they share the code, someone enrolled for each code and divide by the shared capacity. I know there's some people on the call from our district. I think I saw Aaron Volker. Aaron, are you familiar with that shared code? And maybe you just signed on and just to show that you're here and you're doing something else, something more interesting, which I won't blame you. I do the same thing all the time. That's a joke. We're having fun here, right? Okay. The session is being recorded, so there it is.
Daniel, can you, okay, so like I'm looking at the capacity in a column, right? So this is the measure or is it the column?
Let me finish reading the chat and then I'll try to answer your question. Okay. What was your question again, sir?
I said the capacity that you show in the table, is it the measure or is it the column value?
Measure.
Can I see that measure?
So
Okay, so this is just some.
Cap. Yeah.
Okay. Do you mind making a quick modification?
Sure.
So like,
wait. Let me say this is something else. Let me pose some other stuff here. Have you all seen that Power BI? I used to be able to open up multiple tables, multiple reports, but they put some kind of a limit on it now. So I can open them up, but I can't see the calculated columns or anything. Has anybody else noticed that? Okay. Test one. Okay, I'll leave test one open. Okay, I'm going to save this. So this is test one. I'm going to save this.
I want to say right away, it's not going to be a perfect solution. So it's going to be kind of a half and half. And that's due to the, I think this is kind of like a modeling issue. So in the solution is like, it's kind of a hack. So it works on one level, but not the other. But it still might be helpful, I think.
Okay, so here's the measure.
So you have the capacity, right? I see there's a capacity in the measure capacity. You have like an error sign or something, like on the right hand side in the list of the measures and columns and dates. Yeah, like right on the right.
I don't understand what you said. I'm sorry.
Not capacity stacked. I see like there's a capacity right there, just above, and it has the exclamation point next to it.
Yeah, you're right. Sorry.
Yeah.
You're right.
If you click on that.
Let me just double check which one. So this capacity. So the capacity is coming from capacity stacked. So
Okay.
capacity.
Oh, I see. Okay,
Yeah,
so it is from capacity stacked.
Yeah, this capacity is capacity stacked.
Okay. Okay. Let's see what's the function is. If you click on the capacity stack, like if I can see what the measure.
It's just the sum of cap.
Okay. So let's try to modify it. Let's just do if like before sum x list cap. Let's do if and I'm trying to remember what was the name of the column that show if this is a primary section or not. But basically, if you would say if primary section equals y, I think that's what it was. then calculate this, otherwise put the 0.
There's a table, it's coming from cap.
That's okay. I mean, this is your source data. That's fine. Like
Right.
it is fine as it is. It does have the cross-listed, or it doesn't. You probably would have to be in the same table.
Go back. Journal. Oh, you know, so quite honestly, this capacity right here. So this was my calculation. It's not correct. And I know it's not correct. So this was the calculation that I used to ask for help. This is what I did here. So then this cost was to test is if this is from the fabric community, where they suggested that I do it this way. Okay, I don't know if you can see it. Can you see it okay? I'm going to blow it up a little bit. Is that better?
That's helpful. Yeah.
Okay, but the results, so this is cross-list test 1, is the same. And then this one said, let's just modify it just slightly differently. So this one, so the sum x, so I put the sum x, sorry, let me start again. The original solution that somebody suggested lacked this part of it. It just ended the measure as like this, and it gave me an error. All right, so sum x, you need to have at least 2 things in there. So I went back and I said, I did what you asked, and it didn't work out. So someone said, oh, you need to add one more part of the equation, which is just the capacity stacked, which I did. And so I don't have the error, but the results are the same. Format it to bothers me. Come on. All right. So the results are the same. Then this one is it. So same kind of thing, but instead of bringing the capacity stacked into this summarized in this virtual, I think this is a virtual table. I'm way out of my depth on this. I think that's what it is, but I'm not sure. So the previous one created, they summarized this table, right? And included this measure. Then someone suggested, don't include it in the table, just put it as the second part of the equation. So no error, but the result is the same. You see that? So then, I got one response on the listserv. Now, before I keep on going, I'm happy to talk about this. It's wrong. Am I embarrassed? A little bit. I don't care. Because if we can figure this out, great. Because obviously, this is something that it's not just my problem, right? I mean, I think everybody on here is saying, it'd be nice to figure this out. So that being said, if y'all want to keep on talking about this, that's cool. We can come back to it. Or if y'all want to talk about something else that you all want to bring up, that somebody wants to bring up as part of the office hours, we can shift, and we can always come back to this maybe at the next convening. So, Jaime, you're a host, right?
I am.
Can you do a real quick poll, ask if they want to continue or talk about something else?
Sure. Yeah, we could do. We'll be efficient here. We'll utilize the chat for that. So I trust people came prepared with questions.
Hey,
So,
Daniel, just real quick before we move on, I have a question for you with your layout. when you have the stacked course, is it important for your deans or whoever is utilizing this report to show each individual subsection?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, that's good. I appreciate the question. And
the reason why is because the way I got around this was like right here we have the manufacturing, manufacturing technology, and then it breaks down to the next level. I combined the parent and then the child sections in one line there, so that it was all rolled up into one. You could see which courses sections were being utilized at that in that field or in that calculation.
So which sections, but not the individual.
But yeah, so they wouldn't see necessarily that there was 2 in 64869 or whatever section, but they would see altogether that those were the sections that were being offered at that particular time or whatever, at that particular year. And then that calculation is worked out.
I had another solution a couple of semesters ago that seemed to work. But it was I was going to say less fancy, and I was trying to build it into something like this because, I mean, I have faith that DAX has the ability to do this, but DAX is a very humbling program for me. Every time I think I know something, it reminds me that I don't, and so it's been a challenge. But the reason why I like that, I appreciate that question, is that on one hand, we haven't figured it out, and they say it's important. On the other hand, it's a relatively small number of sections compared to the overall college. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So on one hand, I mean, there's a part of me that's like, there's a lot of trouble for a relatively small part of the entire college situation. But this is my bear to cross, I guess. So we even put a poll together real quick, Jaime? Oliver.
Daniel, I guess my question to you would be for the end user, when they're referring to sections, are they more interested in how many actual sections there is, or do they want to know based on how many the total, like, do they want to know one section, or do they want to know 7 sections that are cross-listed? Because it's kind of like you said, a lot of times when we do have those cross-listed courses, it's because we know that they're courses that don't fill up at full capacity. So we usually just try to kill multiple birds with one stone and squish them all into one. Which, going back to the previous speaker, we found when we present data out there, we usually do it on duplicated sections. But to denote which ones are cross-listed, we go back to like, okay, we have a column with this one section with the primary CRN. And then we have like another column like, okay, all these CRNs fall under that one CRN.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's a good point. It's a good point. I don't know. I'm going off what they've told me before. So, and it's an interesting puzzle. It'd be a good thing to fix, right? And then to share with us.
Yeah. The other issue you might come across later is if you have to add like FTE into this as well. That's going to be added on that. So
right. Like one thing at a time, man. One thing at a time. But you're exactly right. You're exactly right. Okay, there's 33 people on the call, and 12 people have responded to the survey. So if you don't mind taking a moment, it's only 2 questions, and we're all in the survey business. So, all right. See, good thing I brought that up. People were saying, no, this is done with this, which is great. But keep on going, please. It's another 11 or 12, 13. There's 13 more people. Oh, I guess I'm one of them. Am I one of these?
Because we don't have long, if you did come with a topic you want to discuss, please raise your hand so that we can move forward efficiently.
Can we get another 5 responses? We're pretty close. 55 to move on. Oops, spoke too soon. 52 to move on. We're at 10 or 11. Now's your chance. And I'm really fine with not talking. So Pat would move on. Once. So if you have a topic you want to talk about, please raise your hand. Oh, yeah. All right, Oliver, go ahead. Thank you. So I'll stop sharing, and anybody else, please raise your hand. All right, let's go to Oliver. So thank you for your time. Thank you for your result. We're gonna have. Do we have a transcript for this, Jaime? Or it comes in the chat, right?
Yeah, we will.
Yeah.
I know Katie's recording, but she has to run by you if there's any sensitive data that maybe was shared. But yeah, we can discuss that.
Okay. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
And be able to get it back out to this group. And I'm going to keep on working with the Fabric community and with Dr. Nelson from LLU to see about this, because I'm sure there's a solution. I did see a possible solution. This is going to be like the worst thing a person could say. I saw a possible solution, but I don't remember what it was. But I'm sure there's a result out there. All right.
You know what? So first of all, I just want to introduce myself. My name is Oliver Zambrano. I'm the research analyst for Imperial Valley College. I'm here with my colleague, Josue Verduzco. And this is probably the first meeting that I've attended and probably the longest time. So again, bear with me. And the reason for that and the reason for me attending here today is because we're diving a little bit more into Power BI as an institution. Reason being that we're like a Microsoft college, and Power BI was it was a fairly cheap solution to go into with the licensing that we have at our college. Just a little background on my end when it comes to making dashboards. We do have Tableau Cloud Services. We do use Metabase as well. And now we're diving a little bit more into the Power BI. We're a small IR department. It's just the associate dean, myself, and we just recently got a new addition, Josue Verduzco. So we're really just limited on manpower. So we're really dependent on Oracle developer SQL scripts. We use that for the data that's going into Tableau, data that's going into Metabase, as well as for data that's going into Power BI. So with that in mind, I'm just diving into Power BI. One of the things that I did notice when it comes to simply just transferring a lot of my SQL into Power BI is that sometimes it just gets a little bit more complicated compared to other solutions. So I guess my question today is, can for those that are connected to their databases that do SQL programming, can you share a little bit um, of your experiences with the SQL scripts in Power BI? And because I'm reading a lot about this DAX, this Power Query, and just so much features that you have to use within Power BI for optimization. And when before I was kind of simply used to like, okay, I'm just going to write this script and simply just dump it in either Metabase or Tableau and be able to compute something fairly quick.
Hey, Oliver.
Daniel, you have your
Sorry, Steve, if you want to go ahead. I mean, like, I'm just going to make a couple of quick comments, right? So like, to be upfront, like, we don't use I mean, I don't use personally like the connecting to SQL directly, even though I know it's possible. Just a question of like IT/IR relationships here. So we tend to work with the extract data sets.
Okay.
But from digging around, like I know that the Power BI, some topics you might want to investigate is called query folding. And what it is basically when you're writing up the scripts, the steps in the Power Query to pull the data from SQL, sometimes you can have steps that kind of break the query folding. And the query folding is basically a way that the Power Query translates its requirement to the SQL server, or I mean, whatever Oracle server when it uses natively SQL kind of language to pull the data more efficiently. So that's one topic that I would say you should probably query folding if you just remember to look at that. The other piece is like I would really strongly suggest to look at the sort of data modeling, because I think a lot of times the questions with the like problems with the DAX and like Power Query come down to like inefficient data model. The like principles of like I mean the Power Query is kind of a cool because it allows you to use a variety of different sources, sort of from anything from like flat tables, Excel spreadsheets, CSV files, etc., to all the way to SQL and more. But some of these sources are more efficient than the other, and the closer you get to the source, there's another maxim that is called like Roche's maxim that you might want to investigate. It just basically tells you that do your transformations as soon as possible. So yeah, query folding, data modeling, and Roche's maxim. Those would be the three things I would like keep an eye on.
Thank you. I took note of that.
So we do. Oh, Daniel, you had your hand up first, I think.
So all I was going to say, and this is my opinion on things. I talked about Power Query being in the background and DAX being on the foreground, or the back side and the front side. And you can do a lot of things in Power Query. You can do a lot of ifs and ands and different things like that. But you could also do it on the front end in DAX. So when you do it in Power Query and you're looking at your table, whatever is coming into your table looks native to that table. And so you would then have to go to the Power Query and kind of figure it out. And so that's why I prefer to use DAX, so we can see it when I'm looking at the table. I can see when when something has been created or manipulated or changed, and then we can always make that adjustment. But that's just my opinion. I know there are other people who think Power Query is a far better place to do those kinds of things, but I'm not in favor of it.
Okay. Thank you for that.
Hey.
Stephen can go first.
Okay, so thank you. I mean, you talk about bringing SQL into Power BI out of. So we run all of our Power BI out of SQL. We do our writing. We write the SQL basically out of our SIS, which is Colleague, which is in a SQL Server environment. It gets pushed from a VTMI into a SQL Server environment, and then we also have our MIS referential files all in a database. And I prefer to do one of the reasons with our SIS is so complicated to SQL to query that we have I built a library of SQL queries that we use regularly to get specific things, so we can just copy and paste and then join in. But yeah, we bring it right into the Power BI mostly, and we try not to use Power Query as much. I think I use Power Query more than anyone else in the office because I don't know, it's just sometimes I just want a quick solution and I can just build a custom column right there pretty easily. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty. Have you been able to bring in SQL to the Power BI? Is that
yeah, we currently have a Power BI set up, and we were able to establish the connections. It was just more of the I just found myself having to do additional steps even after bringing a lot of that SQL data in. Something as simple as adding filters, and I do and maybe because I'm used to Oracle Developer or Metabase, that whenever you write a script and put in a variable or a filter, it filters the data before coming in. But on Power BI, I kind of feel like I need to bring the tables in and the data in, and then I need to filter it out, which kind of feels like, okay, I might be adding a little bit more performance to our servers than I was used to. Is that the case? Is that the norm for Power BI?
I mean, we do all of our like filtering and the data set in SQL query and then bring it into Power BI. That's our normal, thing we do. And then if we need to filter anything out of that, then that's better. Just because Power Query, going back and forth from Power Query to Power BI can be kind of demanding on especially if you're pulling in a lot of data at one time. So it takes a lot to load. And if you can do it in SQL beforehand and then bring in your custom SQL query in the advanced editor and put it in, then that seems to be a better solution a lot of the times. I remember with Tableau, because I used Tableau prior to this, it was a lot easier to visualize that stuff, I think, bringing it in. But yeah, no, I mean, we do our SQL before we bring it in all the time. And that was one of the things, like, what we really want to do though is because we're moving, we'd like, so I'm at a district, right? And we have 3 colleges. So I'd like the colleges to start using the local data more but the database is kind of it's not really accessible without having in-depth training on the tables and such. So one thing that we're looking to move, so Fabric, we're gonna have to move to Fabric. We have a premium right now for Power BI, and we're gonna be moved to Fabric. And we were talking to a consultant and building data flows into the cloud server on Fabric, I guess, and using those instead, and having that be like an updated kind of like materialized views you would have in your SQL server, I guess. But yeah, I mean, I prefer building everything, and I do as much as I can the SQL first, and then bring it in, and then. But I often, for example, I did a 320 report recently where I have student level data, section level data, and then college level data, and I brought the same 320 SQL in, but then I aggregated at different levels in Power Query, and that seemed to be a better solution and kind of work.
Okay, well, thank you. You know what? I really appreciate that, Steven. I'm gonna take a note of your name in case I need to reach out to you, and I'll end it with that so that you can continue on into other topics. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it.
Katie had her hand up.
Yeah, Katie had her.
I feel like Stephen probably covered it. Just the one piece I would add is Power Query can get really cumbersome and laggy. I had a report. So we use SQL Server for similar reasons to Emil. We don't connect directly. I had kind of an experimental report that I was working on, and over the years, it just like grew and grew and grew. And I was using Power Query to do my edits. And it's now at the point where I have to start over in SQL now that I know more of what I'm doing, just because there are things I did in Power Query so long ago that I don't have the time to locate where they are. And it's just, yeah, if you have something that might evolve, I think I would prefer SQL knowing what I know now.
I just wanted to add, you reminded me of a couple of things. So one of the cool things about Power Query is that it auto documents your steps, which you can rename. So you don't have to doesn't have to just be rename column 1, rename column 2, or whatever it is. You can actually rename it so created divisions or whatever it is, so you can see that, and then you can always reverse that. And so that's kind of a very cool thing. But to piggyback on what Katie just said, one of the other things about Power Query is that every time you make a change, once you make that change, it has to read in the data like it's brand new. And if you got a very large data set, it's going to, so you make one small change to it, and it's going to have to reload the whole data set into it again. And I've worked on data sets where it took over an hour to the number of records that it was pulling in. Whereas if you do it on DAX, i.e. on the front end, you make calculations and done. So that's something to keep in mind.
Yeah,
Thank you for
DAX.
that.
If you can use DAX, that's quick. Like that makes your calculations a lot easier. I'm just not it's just not a very good. I've never been good with the language of it, so it's Copilot has been helpful. The AI helps.
So we're at 53 minutes into the hour. I took a lot of it, and many of you stuck around, which I very much appreciate. I think we can wrap this up unless you have a gift of time of, by the time I finish talking, 6 minutes. But if there's anything else that anybody wants to bring up, we're just part of wanting to do this, have this gathering, and I was wanting to talk about this, is that I want us to continue our cadence every 3 months, because I think it's valuable. I think that I think we can help each other, and I think this is a good community to do that. And if, or perhaps I'll say when, I get a solution to how to fix this correctly, I'm going to be happy to share it with this group. So.
Just stop scheduling cross-listed courses.
You know what's okay. Just I was working on this, I think maybe 2 or 3 semesters ago, and at first I was thinking, okay, well, if there's 1 cross-listed course, I'm okay with that. If there's 2, I said, but I really should allow that there can be more than 2, or who knows how many, right? I had a course that had 17 cross-listed sections. Again, tail wagging the dog. If the dean thought that was the way to schedule it, who am I to say no? But there were 17 cross-listed courses to that 1 primary course. So, but if that's what works for them, that's what works for them. One of the things that I'll get the notes from Katie. One of the things that I've been doing lately, just I'm not plugging one way or the other. I'll transcribe a meeting and then put that transcription into to ChatGPT or to Fabric, whatever. And the summaries have been pretty good. So I've been very pleased with that part of it. So maybe we'll do that with these comments and see if there are some themes or something that comes up, and share them out to the group. Okay. Any last words for this meeting? I hope nobody dies.
No,
Just
I think
to-
What's that?
Go ahead.
I was gonna say we're all gonna die, but we're gonna all
thank Daniel. I think the cross-listed sample was really helpful. I learned a lot from doing that kind of stuff. So from the troubleshooting.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Like I said, I'll be happy to share it once I get that solution. So. Okay. Well, thank you so much for coming. Oh, do you have your hands on, or are you saying bye?
No, that was just saying bye.
Okay. Thank you, everybody.
Just some closing announcements. So yeah, just wanted to thank everyone for joining us. Great collaborative learning session. And I know someone did ask me, they messaged me directly if the session is being recorded, and it is being recorded. And so it will be provided. Typically what we do is we send a follow-up email on the Power BI listserv, and we go ahead and share. It's on YouTube. We upload them to YouTube. Thanks to Katie, she does all that work. A shout out to Katie for doing that. So we'll be doing that, but just a few quick announcements. So this is our last convening for the 2025 year. And so, with that, happy holidays. Happy New Year. We won't be seeing you all till next year.
Care.
That's right. Care. We could be seeing you at Care. And so one thing to consider too is wanted to give a shout out to folks who completed the survey. So there was a survey that went out over the summer asking you all for feedback on what are topics that you wanted us to focus on, what is the format that you would most prefer. So I bring that up, number 1, to thank you all, but number 2, it's already being used, and it's going to be used for planning purposes when it comes for us to plan for 2026. So just want to make you aware of that. So thank you again for your responses, and it will be used for our planning purposes for next year. Lastly, one of the things we've been working through is we're trying to figure out, long story short, Fabric has given us limitations to how we can utilize our community platform. So there's been discussions amongst the Power BI user group leaders in terms of what's going to be that primary platform to move forward, and then also to effectively communicate with the group, that is you all, in terms of updates, when are our meetings, Zoom links, things of that nature. So just an update that we're working on that, and we're close. I think it's fair to say we're close to a solution. And so it's something we've been working through. But so if you notice that, there's been changes in terms of where we're putting information, it's because of that reason itself. And so with that, that is all I have on my end, but just want to thank everyone, thank Daniel, Stephen, Katie, and everyone for your participation. But if no one else has anything else to add, I think we're good to go at this point.